to another episode of the Veritas Fact Finding Series. And today I'm joined by my good friend, George Rivera. George, welcome.
Hey, Anthony, excited to be here.
We are back on the ground to speak to industry professionals in an unscripted, candid video format to discover how we can make better investment decisions. If you're watching and you like what you hear, give us a like and follow us at veritascorp.com. Quick note of disclaimer, this broadcast is not to be taken as investment advice, and participants and or employees of the Veritas Group of companies may own securities discussed in this broadcast. While we love all our guests, and George in particular, this session may contain forward-looking statements, investment opinions, and comments that we may not agree with. Now, I'd like to give you a quick few points on George. George has a very, very interesting background, which we're going to dig into. And really, why I think this is so relevant to us here in the investing world is that George has found a way to deal with leadership and life and focus on what really matters, and that's time. It's the only thing that's totally irreplaceable. He's created buyback time framework. But before we talk about the systems, the strategy, I want to understand his story, because this work didn't begin as productivity advice. It began with something much more personal. George, take it away and tell us why it is you do what you do today.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah. As you said, like I'm at this place in my life, but there's always a reason why that gets us to where we're at. And so to rewind a little bit more towards my reason why, a couple of weeks before my dad passed away, we're talking about 11 years ago now, pretty much like a deathbed confession or deathbed statement. He said, "Don't miss Leo's games. I miss too many of yours." And Leo's my son. At the time, he was like 11 months. He's already, starting to walk and talk and doing a lot of the first things that, kids do in life. And I'm missing all of these moments. And when he said that statement to me, I had two major kind of like, oh my gosh. First, oh my gosh, was rewind back to the mid 90s. I like to say dinosaurs used to roam the earth at that time. I played basketball in high school and in about 40 games. And out of all those games, my dad only went to one of those games. And I remember I'd score a basket and I looked to the stands to see, where's my loving dad that I need his approval, and he's not there. My teammates, they'd score a basket and their dad was like, "That's my boy." And they're just cheering them on. And I remember looking at another dad loving on his son. And I was like, I wish that was my dad. And that would have crushed my dad hearing that at any point, because he wasn't a bad man. He was a good man. He was a medical doctor, very dedicated to his career, successful on paper, but the family life was not so much, and wasn't like a hostile home situation, but it was just lack of presence. And so when I saw another dad loving on it, I didn't care about what that dad did. My dad always gave us nice homes, cars, and trips to Europe every summer, but he wasn't there. And so, again, fast forward that 20 years back to 2015, he's making that statement. I'm like, that's closure for whatever that was as a kid. But the other side was like, holy cow, I'm you all over again. I'm doing the nice homes, cars, trips to Europe in exchange for my presence, just like my dad taught me. And I'm missing the moments with my son. So when he made that statement, I told myself, hey, I was the kid who went through this, and I'm doing it now again. This has to stop here, but it has to start tomorrow, because I'm working 16 hours today. And tomorrow comes, and then another tomorrow, and then another tomorrow. 3 years worth of tomorrows takes us to 2018. And I'm scaling my business at that point. Now my dad's long gone, and
and what business is that, George? I don't want to interrupt, but it's relevant.
Yeah,
what business was that?
It's an online marketing business, selling supplements online, like nutritional products. And that's how I started my business back at this point now, 31 years ago, in the direct response space. And that's been, a majority of my activity. I've done other things, but that's been the primary thing. And so I'm scaling my business to $20 million that year, and it's just printing money. It's extremely profitable.
What's the name of that supplement?
Yeah, it's Fight Age Laboratories is the name of the company, and there's various different supplements. This one in particular, scaling, was for tinnitus or tinnitus. People say it a couple different ways, but it's like ringing of the ear. That was one of our big ones, and it scaled to numbers that, had you told me years prior this is your future, I would have said, oh my gosh, I've made it. There's nowhere to go from here. But the truth was that I was hating my life because I had the world's worst org chart. It's me here, 40 people beneath me, and I would delegate down to them and it would just boomerang back up to me. Then I just robbed from the future. It's like, it's quicker if I do it myself. And yeah, it is at that moment, but you do that enough times, you're training your team. George is the firefighter. Just push it close enough and then he'll just finish it off. The crazy thing is I'm paying them to do a job and I'm finishing it for them. And it's kind of insane. And I was living insane for a long time. And so, yeah, I reached that burnout point and I wanted to do one of two things. I wanted to sell my business, but you can't snap your fingers and sell a business. It takes, you got to get your financials in order. You've got to hit the market evaluation, LOI, and LOIs have a 80% failure rate. So like that's a multi-year process. The one thing you can do overnight is just burn your business down. And I really considered that. And I called a mentor and a coach that I had, and he lovingly walked me back off the ledge of that decision. And he basically said, you got to stop doing what you don't like doing and keep doing what you're good at, which is, the marketing side, the money making side of online marketing, not the, admin, merchant accounts, invoicing, payroll, tech, all that stuff. And again, I had a team for that, but it just kept bouncing back up to me. So that phone call was the foundation of what I do now with the buyback time formula, the movement that I've created. But at the time, I didn't know that name. I didn't know what a bottleneck was. I didn't know what a framework was. I'm just doing the work. And it took about 2 years, could have been sooner. But us entrepreneurs, we have this identity where I'm the best one at this task, or if I'm not doing something, I'm not being productive, or all these other lies that we have to sort of dispel and get over. But in 2 years, I took my business from 20 million to just shy of 50 million. So more than doubled it. But one of the more impressive parts was I'm living a semi-retired lifestyle at the peak of it. And do emergencies still happen? Yeah, but they go somewhere else because of the frameworks and the infrastructure we have in place. And even the more impressive part of all that is, like my dad said, don't miss Leo's games. I never missed any of his games. I taught him how to negotiate real estate at 8 years old. That's another thing we do with the byproduct of my primary business is to invest in other things. And so we've got Airbnbs and land. And so, the old me would have said, son, there's a room over there. Here's an iPad. Knock yourself out. We'll let you know when we're done. And that's fine. That's like the default. But the new me, the current me, is like, this is a teachable moment. Son, you're going to make the offer to the realtor. And he's kind of like, what am I doing? I was like, you're going to say, we're going to close in 30 days. Here's the price we're going to pay. Leave the dock, leave the furniture. This is an investment property. And tell him, well, just say the offer. And then so he goes to the realtor, and the realtor's like, listening, kind of impressed, like this little kid talking this big people stuff. Then he looks at me, doesn't say anything, but with his eyes, he's asking, is this the offer? And I'm like, yeah, the whippersnapper spoke for us. And we got the house. And of course, the terms got to make sense, but he conveyed the offer. And I can just see it like, once he's got his own kids, he's going to be like, my dad took me to buy real estate, so that's what we're going to do, kids. And even fast forward more to current day, he's 11 years old. He's got a podcast. He's interviewed almost 40 guests. I've counted their combined public gross numbers, and it's in the billions. And he's just learning all this golden wisdom. And I'm kind of getting off track on my son, but that's just the evidence of a present father in the family. And my trajectory was the complete opposite. My trajectory was he was going to be one of these kids, like the common kids, that face stuck in phone, don't know how to look people in the eye or shake their hand. And so fortunately, my dad's last words sort of adjusted my trajectory. I was a little late in getting it, but those words really rang into me once I reached the pinnacle of burnout. I'm feeling the tension from my family, and like something's got to change. Like I can't sustain this. And sure, I'm doing it for the family is the excuse that we say, but did your family really ask for you to be absent? Sure, yeah. You're good at writing checks, but there's a lot more to it than just being a good check writer. So I know I threw a lot out at you, but wherever you want to pick it up.
George, it's I remember the same for my dad. He would take me to. My dad is a cabinet maker. He's still working today, 78 years old. We're going to give a big shout out to my dad, Sebastian, who's a prince, and he always would play the song. It's kind of ironic that he loved Harry Chapin. And he would always play that song when we were working together. He would take me to work with him. I, hold the nail, learn how to swing the hammer, anything, just hold pieces of wood, put anything together. And the cat's in the cradle, as I hear your song, it just resonates. And I know, I'm willing to bet that there's 80, 90, maybe even 100% of the people that are on this podcast that right now listening that have all had this challenge where we're forced to make that decision. I got to miss that meeting. I can't miss that meeting. It's so important, but I'm going to miss that time that I just won't get back. And it's not that the business is not important, because it is. But I think the next part of our discussion, and that's really where I want to get to now, is thinking about what you've created here. And you can use your own business as an example of what you've built with this framework. We're going to call and that framework that changed everything. So why don't you take us through it? It starts out with the time audit, which I think is the key starting point, right? And it's all about truth first. And of course, this, of course, being Veritas, truth is so important. You got to be true to yourself, brutally honest. Walk us through this.
Absolutely. And that starts with holding that mirror in your face and just, yeah, being honest about what it says. And that for me, and I recommend that starts with the time audit. And so this whole thing started with the time audit. So as I'm doing it, it's a 2-week period where you essentially record yourself. You're documenting everything that you do. This is when I wake up. This is when I ate food. I made food. I brushed my teeth, like everything, and obviously work included. Because if you have to think about, should I not write this? You're going to leave out things that you should have been documenting. So no judgment, just write. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you're going to have a list of things, and some you should keep doing and a lot you should not keep doing. And then you want to give yourself $1 per hour. And I call it the 10K per hour test, or 10K per hour filter. And in my case, my dollar per hour value is anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 per hour when I'm in my zone of genius. When I first did this audit on myself, I was working 80-hour weeks. I didn't even know there were 80 hours in a week, and I'm working 80-hour weeks. It's kind of insane as I'm saying it out loud. And when I finished the time audit, I realized that 40 of those hours were on tasks that were $50 an hour or less type, tasks. And I was like, okay, so I'm not a great mathematician, but $50 per hour times 40 hours per week equals $2,000. And remember, I got this money printer and I'm pushing a button and it spits out money. Like for just $2,000 per week, I could have bought back half my time, half my sanity. That would have made me better at my zone of genius activities, would have plugged me right back into my family and stopped missing the moments that matter. And so, it took some time. Like I said, it wasn't an overnight thing. It could have happened in as short as 6 months. It took a couple of years. There were still some tasks that I was like, this is part of my identity. I can't let this go. And but once I finally did, once I experienced a little bit of that freedom from a certain task, I let it go. It didn't burn down. In fact, somebody else picked it up and did better. I was like, what else can I do this with? And I just kept doing that until at one point I'm like I said earlier, semi-retired, or sometimes I'm completely off the grid for weeks. A couple of times I'm like, hello guys, are you still alive? I'm still here, but it's like, no, systems are working.
So you first look in the mirror, look at what you're doing, and give a dollar value to every task. Then we're going to eliminate those tasks that are not the highest value, those ones where I'm going to use that are your unique ability. You have to first, when you look in the mirror, you go, what is your 10,000 or 1,000 or what? Pick a number, $100,000 value add. And then all the things that are not, you want to think, who can I give this to? So I can either eliminate it, automate it, or delegate it.
Exactly.
To use your words.
Absolutely. Eliminate anything that doesn't move the needle. You automate anything that repeats. And with AI today, there's like no excuse for not doing that. And then delegate. And had you told me that 10 years ago, I'd said, yeah, I'm delegating, but it's all boomeranging back to me, like I said. And so there's a way to delegate with ownership. You have to show them, what does the outcome look like? So don't just delegate the task, delegate the desired outcome. And then you give them the liberty to improve the process of how they get there. And then there's another process I could briefly explain, but you take a screen recorder. Loom is like the flavor of the moment, and you document exactly what it is that you want on a video. You take the transcript, you put it in ChatGPT. You tell Chat, make me a very nice SOP, super easy to understand. It's going to make it beautiful. You copy and paste that over to a Google Doc. Review it since it's fresh in your mind. Chat will get it 95% right. There might be, forgot to move something over. Just clean it up while it's fresh on your mind. It'll take you 2 minutes. And then you take that Loom video, put it in that Google Doc, and then you hand it to the person you're delegating to. And then I tell that person, look, I got 30 minutes. Watch it right now, go through the steps, and let's discuss anything you don't understand. And then maybe like, oh, can you explain this step? Okay, clean it up. Good. How about now? And then clean it up. Okay, we're good. You're good. Awesome. This should never come back to me again. Like, this is your job. You own this task. The only time it should come back up is if we strategic change in marketing, there's a vendor change, but like, this is off my plate. This is yours. You own it. You are capable. You have permission. It's yours. And that's how you get it off your plate.
How do you let it go though? And because, part of the magic that you said, chat can help you organize a structure for the task, but there's also communicating that task to this individual so that they feel empowered to do it,
Yeah.
and not because what I'm also concerned. Look, I'm an entrepreneur myself. You're always concerned, well, if I give this to someone else, they'll think I'm being lazy. They'll think
Yeah.
that I'm dogging it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to
Yeah.
walk us through
No,
that, because
I hear you.
it's easy to say to do things, but then you sit back as the quote unquote boss, and you're biting your nails going, oh my God, they're going to screw it
Yeah.
up. They're going to screw it up.
I'm telling you, that's the fear that I lived in, when I was first getting this off, and that's why it's almost like a little bit of a leap of faith. It's an educated leap of faith, but still, you're like, I hope this works. And when it does, you become addicted to the process, and you want to do that over and over. So how do you communicate that? That's like part of having leadership, is that you're trusting your team. And I usually do it in a way of like, look, I'm slammed. I'm the owner, and slammed is a relative term these days. I'm not slammed, but if I'm working X number of hours and I'm taking up all that time, then in my book, I'm busy in the allocated hours that I've decided to work. And so I'm out there working on my zone of genius, the things that bring revenue to the business, strategic relationships, entering new markets. So I'm like, I'm counting on you to handle this, because I'm out there, hunting for more food for us to have as a company, so you still have your job. I mean, maybe you don't explain it, that cut and dry, but you convey it in your own way, that you're out there doing it for them, but you need them on this one thing.
And you talk about scheduling white space, because after you've gone through the calendar, you've eliminated, delegated, and then you got yourself out of it as an owner, you being the owner bottleneck, as you call it. But now let's talk about scheduling the space, because that's important.
Absolutely. So yeah, white space is designed for person, like personal focus, as well as and you can do white space on the business end too. Like, this is creative thinking. This is my zone of genius level stuff. Like, what are relationships that can move the needle that I need to re-engage or look out for and make connections. So you can use white space on both sides. But yeah, typically when I discuss white space, it's more for personal. Like, there's family time and then there's personal. Like, just speaking for us men in particular, like, we need some self time, self improvement time, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're going to be incapable of being leaders in our company, and even more importantly, being leaders to our family. And so it's kind of like that analogy, when you're flying and they say, when the masks come down, put it on you first and then your child. Like, the initial intuition is like, wait, no, we got to save the child because that's the most important thing. But then you're struggling putting the mask on your child while you're suffocating yourself. That helps nobody. And so we got, dads, men, leaders, we got to take care of ourselves, and then we can best serve others in our business, and more importantly, in our family.
So let's try to bring this now and make it really relevant for our client investors here on the call, or on the podcast. All leaders in their own way. Let's talk about how we can, your point about time as an asset class, and how we're going to earn it back. Let's take it through about how we're going to use this so that we can improve our decision quality, and stop having reactive behavior under uncertainty. Because look, we're in the business of predicting what's going to happen tomorrow. And I was asked many times on podcasts and such, if you could have anything in the world, what could it be? I would say tomorrow's newspaper, right? Because then I know exactly what to invest in. And I could make money for myself, for my clients. It'd be easy. But we don't live in that kind of world. Everything's reactive. The company reported, we got new information, employee needs something, your client needs something. How do you work this in?
Yeah, so it's basically having some sort of hierarchy where, the input of information or tasks is able to filter through so that it doesn't come up to you as the founder, the owner, the leader, and you're empowering your team with decision rights, and that comes back to leadership. Give them the ability to handle and manage decisions without you being constantly pinged all day long, which helps eliminate context switching, because that's one of the hardest things to do. You're focused on one thing, and then somebody else asks you about this, and you're like totally pivoting. Like in my case, I'm thinking, marketing and creative, and now they're asking me about an operational question, and it's like different sides of the brain. And so, like, yeah, you're capable of doing it, but then you try to pivot back to like your zone of genius level work, and now you're a little bit more stressed out. You're off your game, so to speak, and so that increases stress, and that increases that feeling of like just responding to fires, and that follows you home well. And so I think eliminating these constant pings and funneling everything through what I like to call it could be like a weekly meeting cadence, monthly, quarterly, depending on every business is going to be different. But it's like you tell your team, if you have issues, problems, concerns with some of the structure and frameworks, bring it to our organized call. I've seen other clients of mine do like an office hours once a week. It's like, this is where you bring your concerns. If you don't bring it here, you're not bothering me during the week, because I've set up the systems and SOPs for you to like, depend on and lean on. And you can certainly wait till an allocated time where the founder or the owner is ready to engage in that. And that's also ties into like protecting that white space, because that's when we're helping ourselves. That's when we're working on our business and doing the things that we can only do. And that ties into investing. Like, you need to have a calm and sound mind to be a good
Yes.
investor, and feel a presence of peace, and not just reacting from a place of chaos and stress that you bring in from business or even from family, if they're putting all this pressure on you because you're never there. And so yeah, I've just seen it too many times. And then at the end of the day, I know we're talking investing. Like, the most important asset we all have is time. Like, we can't make more of it. We can't rewind and get it in the past. We can always make more money, but we can never remake time. So that's the one biggest asset we all have.
You know, I want to delve a little bit into this multitask, because it's something I struggle with as a leader. You're working. I'm working on a report, and then someone comes to me and say, "Oh, we need to approve this invoice to get paid from a client, or we need to review this. I need to review this contract for an employee, whatever the case might be." These are two separate, all three of those totally different tasks, and um, you know, how do you manage it? Because shit happens, if I
Yeah,
can say
yeah.
that.
No,
And so, how do you manage the shit happens?
yeah, and yeah, there are sometimes those circumstances that reach you no matter what. So by no means is there this level of utopia perfection where you'll never be bothered, but it's about minimizing that so that your nervous system can relax and you can be connected and be the man, the person that you want to be. But yeah, my suggestion for that would be to empower like a number two, like an operations person who's like the first line before that escalates up to you. And so you've empowered them with the like I said earlier, decision rights. Like auto approve invoices up to a certain amount, but have them validate, like know how to validate it, so they're not just, oh, it's under the approved amount, so go for it. I mean, that's also wasteful. But you want to teach them how do we approve invoices, and then if it's like over a certain dollar amount, like for my company, anything under $100,000 that you can properly validate, I'm fine, because we have an SOP for that. Anything above that, yeah, let's talk about it. It's kind of a big thing, and we want double eyes on that. And so that's just one example. And same can go for like the HR, situations, reviewing, applications, or talking about employees. Empower them to make decisions up to a certain point, and then if it's beyond that, we'll discuss it. But that'll eliminate like 90% of those. Hey, you got a minute? And it's never a minute, and you're always working on
Yes.
something important, and it's like, good luck getting back to that, because then lunch comes and it's like you're off your
And
flow.
then the next meeting, and then you're
Yeah,
late, and then you're staying up till midnight.
there you go. That, yeah.
It's exactly that. And I'm gonna, I think for myself, there's something I've done, and this, when I went through your things, you touch on it's been a similar way, but maybe not the same words. I've said many times that companies don't run themselves; people run companies. And to run a business requires what I think is the human superpower, which is judgment.
Mhm.
AI can give you an answer, but is that the right answer? Is it, how should it be delivered? To who should it be delivered? When, etc. That's the judgment. All those small little decisions, the soft skills, that requires judgment. So what I always try to do with anyone at any level is when they ask me a question, I always respond and say, "What do you think we should do?"
That's
You
it.
have an, don't come with me with to a question. Come to me with an answer. If you're
Yeah.
not sure it's the right one, I get it. But if you come to me with an answer, and then many times they're probably 90% of the way there. And if you tell them, you know what, you got it. That's a beautiful answer. Go do it. Then the next
Yeah.
time they go, wow, I can do this. And he trusts me. Now all of a sudden they make more decisions on their own.
That's a beautiful thing you just said. Yeah, you're empowering them, and so it's like, hey, don't come to me empty without any suggestions. I mean, you say it in a loving way, but yeah, come back to me with, what did you try? What are your ideas? Give me two or three possible solutions. And like you said, they're going to be 90% there, and yeah, that means more often than not, they'll probably already have the answer. And then, hey, that second thing you said, yeah, try that. And then they get confidence, and over time it minimizes those, hey, got a minute, they're already going to have the answer most likely.
And now you're still running your supplements business, right?
I'm a minority owner in it now, so I'm a board member, but I still have influence on it. Hmm.
So just for everybody involved, this is the buyback time formula, and you do this online. Is that how you work with everyone, right?
Yeah, so I have a book like you have right there, and that contains pretty much everything I know about what we just discussed and then some. And so people can, get a hold of the book and sort of like just have the whole blueprint right there. But I know that there are people like the me of 10 years ago, I would have looked at a book like that and said, "Oh my gosh, awesome. This guy knows what he's talking about. I have no time to do this, or it's going to take me years to implement this like it really happened for me." I would have paid a mini fortune to go from founder prison to hating my life to pure freedom, semi-retired, and teaching my son how to invest in real estate. I would have paid who knows how much for that. So for the person who can do it on their own, God bless you. The roadmap's there. And then for those that are like, I'm so busy, I need help. I'm there to walk people alongside that journey so that they don't have to like wonder, and they can have accountability. And there'll be little challenges and obstacles along the way, or sometimes they just need validation that, yeah, that's it. That's what I did. And so I'm available to walk alongside for those that need that extra help.
As a coach, George, let's
Absolutely.
let's wrap it up. I want you to give us essentially. We'll just do three quick things. Give us one habit that leaders should eliminate tomorrow. The one that you've seen it most often. When you kill this one thing, it's like you wake up every day just a little bit less stressed.
Man, yeah. One thing, if I could take a commonality from a number of clients, I'd just say killing too many meetings. Like there's just a lot of meetings on the books. I'm looking at calendars and it's like, Zoom call, Zoom call, Zoom call. And I'm like, okay, what's the purpose? Sometimes you do have to be on them, but it's like, okay, you realize you have an operations person, you realize you have an AI note taker, and you realize that you're just sort of there to babysit it. So empower your operations person to be present, have your note taker, and then you have your AI and you can ask, hey, what do I need to learn from this meeting that applies to me? Otherwise, like, get out of the meeting. So to me, it's reducing those meetings, because I think post COVID, everybody just kind of went Zoom crazy, and we're kind of still there. And we need them. I'm not saying kill them all, but you could probably cut. I'd say automatically find a way to cut half your meetings, and I'll probably be spot on with that. And that's a quick way to get some of your time back.
Beautiful. One metric beyond revenue that leaders should track to as a key performance metric to know that things are improving in the business or in their life.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, going into life, I'd say this kind of applies to both. But for me, when I'm working with a client, I tell them the pinnacle of success when we do what we're going to do is that we can take a 2 week vacation test, and like, okay, most people think, well, if I take off 2 weeks, my business is going to fall apart. So no, you can't have your business fall apart. We can't even have your business stay the same. Your business needs to grow while you're gone for 2 weeks. So yeah, that's what needs to happen for us to say we've done it.
That you can take 2 weeks off and not have to be stressed about what's going on.
Yeah, you're with your family, with the people that love you and need you, and your business grows. It's like having your cake and eating it too. And it doesn't happen by magic or wishful thinking. There's frameworks that does it. You empowered your team, and that's what will buy your freedom.
So, how about the last point? One question to ask before you accept a meeting, because especially as the leader in any organization, it's everybody wants you to be there because they feel the meeting must be more important with you there, and more things will get decided.
Yeah. No, and you could still convey the fact that, the boss is still like involved in watching because of a note taker, or you're empowering a number two. And I would kind of like go back to kind of what I mentioned earlier is you're telling your operations and your team is, hey, I'm out there getting us some big deals on whatever your zone of genius is. I'm out there bringing in revenue for the business. So I'm trusting that you guys got this, and it's not going to be some free for all where the boss is gone and we can kind of, get away with not participating and say, hey, and I still got my note taker in there. I'm still getting a summary of all the meetings. It doesn't mean that, you have to like inject opinions in all of them, but this isn't like stepping away irresponsibly while your business, kind of does whatever. But now with these AI tools and automation, it's allowed us to utilize technology instead of us physically having to be there. And I think it's a good way to build good rapport with your team, that you trust them, and you're trusting them to take actions and make decisions on their own. Of course, with your approval, you've given them the boundaries to operate in. But yeah, I think that's great ability to show leadership.
Awesome. So I want to wrap up with, or is there any key point that you want to say about what your process that I haven't pulled out? By all means, do that.
Yeah, no, I think I think yeah, we've had a great discussion. And the thing that I like to just tell people, remind people, is because I've been there at that deathbed moment. And nobody ever says, I'm so glad I missed your game because of that client meeting. By the time you're in your deathbed, you're not going to remember the name of that client, but you will remember if you made an effort or not to go to those games, events, recitals, graduations, date nights, whatever it is that your business is pulling you away from. So let's not wait till we get there, because at that point you'd give up all the wealth that you built just to rewind the time when you could spend with your family that you might have right now. So let's do it now. Let's not wait till then to have regrets. So that's what I would say to kind of tie it all together.
That's beautiful, George. All right, let's wrap up. Give us the book, your favorite book that you want to make sure you leave us with.
Yeah. So my book, it's buybacktimeformula.com. And that's the website where you can find the book and other
But
things.
I'm talking.
Oh,
We went through that one. Sorry, I meant a book, like a book that you recommend
oh
we
yeah.
read
Yeah.
outside of
It's
your book. Obviously,
yes,
I
yes.
promoted it too.
Absolutely. No, no, all good. Sorry. Yeah, I would say The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
I have.
Yeah, okay. It's a great book, and it's just about doing little things
I have
uh,
it.
in a routine. Okay, so it sounds like I'm preaching to the choir on this one. My favorite comment from his book is, time is the great equalizer. It will either promote you or expose you. And so, as long as you stay consistent, time will again. It's the great amplifier. And assuming that you're where your heart says you should be, you should be in a good place, because time is on your side. But we can never get more of it, so let's make the best of it while we're here.
Beautiful. And your go-to breakfast, and then a breakfast restaurant. I know that. Where are you tuning in to us or with us from?
Yes, I am in Spicewood, Texas, right outside of Austin, Texas, the capital of the great state of Texas. But my favorite breakfast, favorite breakfast food is just a big stack of pancakes, just buttermilk pancakes. I don't need all the frills and stuff. I mean, I need the syrup and butter, but I don't need them to have all this other stuff in it. I'm just like good old stack, and that will satisfy my soul. And the place to get the best pancakes, in my opinion, it's not a too far of a drive for you and the locals there in the Toronto area. It's
Really?
in northern Michigan, in Kalkaska. It's called Moose and Stella. We have a home up in northern Michigan, and it's about 6 hours from where you're at. So if somebody feels adventurous and wants to cross the border, best stack of pancakes I've ever found.
Moose, what's it called again?
It's Moose and Stella.
Moose and Stella. George, thanks for your time today. We're not going to get this back, but we have learned so much. We're going to improve. I hope everyone listening here it makes their life a little bit more fulfilled so that they don't miss the important moments.
Thank you, Anthony. It's been fun.
All the best. Thanks, everyone. Stay strong.